Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas, it's gonna be one of them nights.
it's gonna be. I'm telling you. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
HD heard it.
It was janky.
Yeah, it was a little janky.
It was. It
It
sounded.
was a janky bomb, though.
Yo, I think I need a new board. Like as you say, I gotta talk in this voice.
It
I
ain't like
can't
the
already.
fourth.
Can you hear Mo?
Yeah, you got some audio issues going on. You got some audio issues going on or something, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, my board's all messed up, man. So I gotta get a new board. It's time to reinvest it. So
It happens. How long
what's
have
up,
you had it?
What up, though?
man? Just chilling.
What's
So
up?
we kind of got like a new format. Kind of go around talking about the news of the week. What you're feeding yourself. I think you've been a part of that, right?
A little bit.
Okay, cool. So let's start with out. Hey, what's your news of the week?
Is it on me?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, because I'm in the
Absolutely.
team.
Hold on. My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I ain't did it in a while. I let him slide. It's about a month now. What's your news of the week, Lieber?
Oh man, it's a good question, man. I've been pretty much not paying attention to anything since that election, man. I've just been kind of like you know, I guess what they say, just kind of deep in thought about everything. I haven't really had a full chance to really get back to, my normal routine because, just how everything was going at work. Like last week, they just told everybody like, don't come in the office this week. Take some time, reflect. Whatever that means to you. However, so just kind of been just chilling. I ain't really had time to really, follow any new.
Leafer, is that in the nonprofit space?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. Because on my side, and they were like, "Good, get it live. It's back to business." I was like, "Oh, okay." So, okay.
I need to
Yeah.
understand.
It's
the
interesting.
difference and why would they say such things?
More liberal
Well,
mindset.
definitely more liberal. There are a lot of different, and I can't go for everybody, but it's definitely more liberal. But it's a lot of the issues that that they're aligned with is not really high up on Donald Trump's list. So with that, it's been a lot for a lot of people over there. So it was just something that came up like even before election day. They were like, look, yeah, if you need some time, you know what I mean, just work from home this week. You know what I mean? You don't need to be in the office. So
That's interesting. Mo, what's your news for the
Look,
week?
that's deep. And I'm glad Leafer, touched on the new president elect, so I don't have to. So with that being said, man, what I've been consuming is these Pittsburgh Steelers, man. The news of Russell's demise. That's the janky bomb. The janky bomb. But the news of Russell Wilson's demise was greatly too soon. So yeah, man, it's gonna be fun, man. This Sunday, man, it's Ravens week.
Dog, I've been saying I'm away from my turn. What you got? What you got, HD?
Man, For the week, I mean, it's just Tuesday. But the news of the week, I would say that was very helpful for me is to make sure I have intentional conversations with my kids. Um, just to be a little transparent and to help those that may ever experience what I've experienced. I have 4 kids, 15, 13, 10, and 6. And my 6-year-old, when her mom passed, she was only 3. And they told us that she was going to be, her grieving process would be later. And so we're here now. And so I had to, and she's been having very much of a discipline problems at school. But we couldn't kind of put anything around it, of why. I mean, I know she's been acting up, but it's like, it can't be just grieving all the time. You know what I'm saying? It can't be that, but it could be, right? But we like, nah. And she was in some counseling, but it wasn't the benefit of counseling that she needed. But I talked to her on Sunday night, and she was able to verbalize that she didn't know what to do with her emotions, and that she didn't know, and she felt like she was the reason why her mommy died. Right. And so that put me back to be like, okay, I can't just keep getting, when she's acting up, it might be grief. And so just communicating to people, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of be in tune with your kids as frequently as possible. So that's my news of the week.
I guess my news of the week is I told y'all so. When it came to these Steelers, I've been raving about these Steelers since March. As soon as we signed Russell Wilson, I'm like, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going. And they've been dragging him. Russell sucks. Oh, this is that. No. He gets with us. That man is being America's stepdaddy right now. You know what I'm saying? He's a stepdaddy to Pittsburgh right now. And we love him. You know
You've been listening to a lot of Sierra all week.
Yeah. Who said that? Shady said that? Or somebody said they've been listening to Sierra.
Yeah, that's what Shady said.
But Shady and Joy was the only ones really telling the truth. Like, I didn't understand how they was dogging him like that. And when you look at the numbers, like, it's just, I know I'm not the only person that know football. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So, but yeah, that's my news of the week, man. Leaford, what you feeding yourself with?
So really, since the last time we had spoken, I was talking to you about, all the audiobooks and things like that, man. I had kind of taken a step back from adding new audio, but like I have some in the queue, but I haven't been listening to them, man. I've really been in tune with my my daily devotionals and my I want to say daily breads, but it's not really like daily breads. Like it's like I have a daily devotional, and then there are like corresponding scriptures that kind of help further explain the devotional, or further the discussion about it, to kind of bring the scripture into the full conversation of the day. So I've been doing that a lot, like every single day. I've been kind of like diving into that, and then finding corresponding scriptures to go along with, I guess, everything that pretty much happens in the day, whether it's stress, anxiety, whatever it may be, anger. So I've been doing that a lot.
So man, I can't remember how long ago it's been since we last met. Because I think our cadence was a little bit off, but so as I mentioned before, man, I was like locked in on this whole SAT stuff. So now that that's kind of gone, man, scores came back. We met the goal, we met the score that she was looking for. So on to the next thing. But now I kind of exhale a little bit and kind of get back into some stuff for me. I came across a book called The Manipulated Man. And it speaks about kind of the uprising, and it was actually written in the 80s, and it speaks about the uprising of feminism and ultimately kind of the good, the bad, the ugly that could potentially come with it. And so haven't fully read it yet. It was just something that kind of came across my purview. So I'm gonna look at it. From the summary, it looks like it's something pretty dope, but it's something I want to read. very interesting tidbits. So stay tuned on that. By the time the next show probably comes up, because it's a short read, I'd imagine I'll have read it, and then if it's any good, I'll share my findings. But could be an interesting read.
Is it worth like a book review?
I don't know yet. Once I read it, I'll definitely circle back. But and kind of how, and I would imagine we'll kind of talk about it, and how it came through my purview. There was a lot of discussion going around about Kamala Harris and kind of the reasoning behind why some people were supporting her, and that's how it kind of came across my purview.
I think that would be an interesting addition to add to the channel, right?
What,
Like,
book review?
a book review, you know what I mean? Instead of saying what you feeding yourself with, like, let's get active.
Yeah.
Let's pick a book we all can read, knock out in a week. You know what
Yeah, I
I'm saying?
mean, and we talked about it before. I mean, I think the platform is supposed to be kind of a communication hub to, help in multiple directions. So even if it's not, a book review, it could just be a book club. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of people don't read. Every time I say, like, I'll be at work and I'll be talking about how I read, and they're like, "Oh, audio or Kindle?" I'm like, "No, I actually read the book." And they're like, "How old are you?" And I'm like, I mean, I was like, it's just a preference, but no, I think that it's definitely something that would be a good idea. At the very least, to have a book club or a recommended reading list.
What you got, Edge?
Well, I'm similar to Leaper. I am reading through the Bible. I'm on day 317. Me and my accountability partner, his wife, and my wife, we're reading through the Old and New Testament in a chronological order. And so that's been really cool to be able to line up different passages along with, other passages that go together. And so now we're in the New Testament. It's where Jesus has just been crucified, and the communication that he had with his disciples before he descended off. And so that part about when Peter denied him and things of that nature. So I don't have a recommendation for Leafer. I don't know if you're familiar with Blue Letter Bible. If you have opportunity to check out Blue Letter Bible, it can help you also with some as resources is breaking down the Hebrew and the Greek of words and things of that nature. So I haven't been studying like I used to back in the day, but I do the devotional, and I'm excited because I'm able to read through the Bible again for I think this may be my third time. So that's what I got going.
Interesting thing for me is being a believer is like one thing that's always been like heavily like pushed was like having a prayer life. I found myself as of late praying a lot more. So building that I don't know if it's a meditation thing or I don't know essentially what it is. Because I'm always a let's do kind of a person, sitting there trying to meditate or, pray and get your thoughts out to God or whatever. It was never really my thing. It was more of the Bible say do this. I'm more of a man of action instead of sitting there praying and thinking. So a lot lately, I've been praying a lot more. And, I mean, has it worked? Yeah, I guess. Not necessarily sure how I feel about it yet, but you know how I do these 30-day sprints of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I kind of got a pop-up question, and it just kind of yeah, it's rough. I mean, I can try to select some other settings, but this sounds crazy. That sounds a little bit better, slightly. But one thing I was thinking today about movies, right, and the different facets of movies. So I'm just gonna ask y'all straight out because I don't know how to word it. What's a better series, Friday or American Pie? What you got, Lee?
Depends on what kind of mood you're in, man. I'm a movie guy, so I like the Friday series because I relate more. But American Pie is like white boy funny. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just a different, it's a different kind of humor. You know what I mean? Like stuff that, you know, the stuff that we wouldn't normally laugh at. You know what I mean? You're looking at that like, oh man, this dude is corny, but it'd be funny in that context while you're watching it. But Friday is definitely more relatable. You know what I mean? So I would choose that as a better series. And as the American Pie series carried on, they got worse and worse and worse. They didn't get better. Friday series was still, extremely humorous.
What you got, man?
No, that's actually really funny. It's kind of random. I'm actually curious as to where this came from, but no, you're absolutely right. Friday was definitely a better franchise. And personally, somebody who like I can appreciate both. I can do both types of humor, but it just the quality was just way worse on the American Pie series. But I get it. Like I get how it's the same way where people be like, "Did you watch? Was it Living Single versus Friends?" Like I get it. It's just where you stand is determined by where you sit. I get it. So from my perspective, I think Friday was a much better franchise, and supposedly they're supposed to be coming out with another one. I guess last Friday, with all the people involved, Chris Tucker included.
What you got, Ed?
Man, my thought was right there, but I'm gonna say it. The reason why I would say American Pie, one, just to go off base, but also I was just looking it up. They pretty much kept their characters, right? Whereas with Friday, with Smokey leaving, I mean, I think it changed the dynamics. Even though which call was funny, I can't think of his name. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name.
Mike Epps.
Mike Epps, thank you. I think Chris Tucker was way funnier. That's me though, right? And how he embodied the whole ambiance of who Smokey was. And I just think that keeping your cast together is very challenging to do. Right? And for them to do an American Pie 1 and 2, and then there's a wedding, and then a reunion, it may not have been good in the sense of what y'all may say is good, but the consistency, I would applaud the consistency in keeping the theme of the movie. So I would go with American Pie for those reasons.
Well, if I can rebut that for a second before you go, Cam, I think that's probably the reason why I think the most why I would choose the Friday series over the American Pie, because they were able to change the cast, and not only the cast, but the trajectory of what they were doing. And I think you almost had to change the cast to be able to do it the way that they ended up doing with Uncle Elroy, and him going into a different space, and it still be funny. Like you still be able to carry that series, still be funny with different characters and a different trajectory. So that's one of the reasons why I would choose it over it.
Yeah, I understand that premise. But like I said, I mean, it's easier to change cast. I mean, you look at we didn't talk about this movie, but Iron Man, there was a change in as it relates to Terrence Howard versus the other guy. I can't think of his name. Don Cheadle. It was a change. I mean, it was still good, but to be able to keep your cast, I just gave points for that. That's all. Just to give a different take, if you will. I enjoy Friday because it's cultural, right? But I also like to see a different dynamic in the consistency of things to see how it works. Because if we talking about series, I don't know why he almost kind of made it racial. You know what I'm saying? But hey, it's prototype. Okay.
No, it was an interesting thing. Somebody was just talking about Friday and how great it was, and somebody was talking about Friday and how great it was, and I'm like, well, I can understand how culturally we identify with Friday more, but when I first watched American Pie, I wanted more instantly. But I'm not used to that other side. Like you got to think about when American Pie came out. Remember, I had this rock and roll phase thanks to Leaford because he started that for real. If you ever wonder where Linkin Park came from, I got it from him. You know what I'm saying? So, but then I like start going down that path, and I watched American Pie. I was like, is there more? I didn't know y'all was this funny. I want more. Is there anything else that kind of relates? Because if I show you Friday, I could go down a gambit of things from our side culturally that will be just as funny as Friday. You know what I'm saying? Like, here, watch this, watch this, watch this, and that can culturally bring you up to speed. When it came to them in American Pie, that's all they really had that funny to bring you there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then they started doing some other stuff based off of that. You know what I'm saying? Like Vince Vaughn really became popular after that. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of like, I think American Pie started their whole side of funny when it came to those kind of things.
I think you just probably don't understand it because culturally you're not a part of it. Because there's other stuff like Old School. Well, there's all kind of movies
After American Pie.
I'm sure there's some before him. It's losing me, but yeah, I was gonna thought. Yeah, so there's plenty of stuff that's culturally. It's just that you weren't a part of it. So I'm not gonna be. I won't say that they don't have anything. It's just that it was a blind spot for us.
It was a what? What was that word?
It was a blind spot for us. That's all.
Oh, okay. I guess because I grew.
Look, I went to school. Yeah, I went to school in West Virginia. Like I'm telling you, there's so many stuff that I'm sure I can think of that they made me watch it. I was like, oh God. But so
I don't think there is. I really don't think there is. Like, I think American Pie really changed the trajectory of their funny.
No, you know what? I can think of one. Blazing Saddles. That was so far like that. That's their original. Spaceballs. Like they have a whole bunch of them. Like, yeah.
Old School.
With
Will Ferrell. Anything Will Ferrell hit, bro.
Old School was 2003.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
American Pie like
Blazing Saddles was what, in the 70s? I know it was before I was born.
Yeah,
you have the Vacations.
Comedy though.
Animal House.
Yes,
School,
the Vacations.
Yeah, like they have plenty. Yeah, the Griswolds.
Movies.
Yeah, Vacation. Yeah, but that's slightly. And they had Ferris Bueller. I mean, stuff, but when it came to like gut busting like that, bro, like I said, I wanted more instantly. But man, let's get into the topic, man. Now that we're here, right? Trump is in office. We got the next 4 years. At a high level, what do you hope for out of the next 4 years? What you got, Leaford?
I don't hope anything different for Donald Duck than I would from anybody else who was in that position. I hope they are able to reach across the aisle at some point and be able to see and understand the views of people who don't think the same way that they do and don't fall into the trap that I see all too well, especially when you come in and you have complete and total control over the House and the Senate and Supreme Court, and you seem to do a vast overcorrection rather than try to meet somewhere in the middle. And that's where I see all the time is, they come in and they're like, well, we didn't like it this way, even though there might have been some good pieces in there. We're going to just strip all of that and start all over. And then you got 4 years to do that. It's really not enough time to really do it any justice. And now people are mad and up in arms because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. So now somebody else comes in there to try to start all over. And then there's a vast overcorrection there. So I'm hoping maybe they can, try to find some kind of compromise, in there and try to, get an agenda that's good for all Americans, you know what I mean? And not just one side, or try to appease one party, because it's supposed to be about the people, not about the party. So I'm hoping that's what we can expect for the next 4 years is a lot of a lot of conversations, a lot of understanding, and a lot of moving the needle forward, and not trying to overcorrect something that is bent but not broken.
So What I expect versus what I hope are two totally different things. But to answer the question, let's go with hope.
Answer one because the other one's
Yeah.
count.
So what I hope is that we would unify. First as a country, right? And the one thing I know about this country, because I'm kind of a history buff, the one thing that I know, the one thing that'll galvanize us is a common enemy. I hate to say this, but that's the one thing that will unify this country. If whoever that enemy is, we'll galvanize to say, all it's us against y'all. That's the only thing that's going to galvanize us. But ideally, in this whole experiment that's called America, like my hope is that, okay, now that the competition's over, let's be Americans and let's unify and do the business of making us a world power again and making us top of the mountain. Let's do that. That's my hope. And you know, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see, because I just think they have differing agendas and differing priorities when it comes to the sides of the aisle. And then a lot of times the people get caught in the middle. So we'll see.
You want to make America great again.
Right.
What you got, H?
Man, I love being here tonight for sure. My hope is that he will do what he said he would do, because the majority of the things that he said he would do when he was in the office the first time, he did. And so that is my hope, that he would carry that on, because from what I'm reading and hearing from people that know him intimately, he cares about his legacy. So he wants to be the greatest president that has ever been president. And so he has admitted that he did some things wrong, which not too many, I haven't heard that from too many leaders, so to speak.
Yep, that's not very presidential at all. So, okay.
And then he listed the thing that he had did incorrectly. So, and he verbally let us know what his incorrections were. And then as a result of what I've seen him transitioning to his cabinet so far, I haven't seen everybody, he seems to be trying to be in that lane of doing what he said he would do already. And he's only, it's a week out, right? And then so that's what I'm thinking, that, or what I'm hoping is that he would do exactly what he said he would do. Because if so, then whoever comes after him will have to march to the same cadence. And if they don't, they won't be there, is my thought process.
Okay, you just gave me a question. What would be a criteria to make you a great president, or where you could be like, I'm a greater president than anybody else? Like, how could we equate this?
Prosperity of the country and the comfort of the people. That like you raise the floor. If in all the history or whatever, when Lyndon Johnson, he knew that, and he was a blazing racist, and he was like, I'm gonna do this because it's about legacy. He hated black people.
And what'd he do? Gave
As
him
the Civil Rights Act, right?
He gave them government funding, and they was like, "Oh yeah, this is what's up.
Yep.
This cheese right here is on point." You know what I'm saying?
Don't
Ain't gotta have no dude in the house. You know what I'm saying? And I can still get this cheese. That's his legacy. But if you read about him though, that's not there.
Mm-mm.
About LBJ, that's not there. You know, so.
And that's the thing about history, though. Legacy isn't always who you really are. It's who they're going to remember you as. So, there's the governor at the time, the governor of Alabama, George Wallace. And his legacy is that he's the Dixiecrat of them all.
Let's go, Mo Better.
But that's not actually where he started. He actually started out as a poor people's campaign. He was the poor people's candidate. And what actually happened was, as he was pushing that agenda, it wasn't getting any traction. And he noticed that those rural, we won't say their color, but the rural folks or whatever was like, as long as I'm better than the other folks in the city, you're good in my book. And so he just, he went with the horse that was going to get him to the end of the race. So, and that's just the way that history goes. Your legacy is told by how they want you to be remembered, not actually who you were at your core.
So what's the floor look like? It's essentially is what I'm asking, right?
What the floor look like? People to have stability, for there to be stability financially, morally. I mean, people voted on morals, whether you believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? Black people didn't, but every other culture did. Voted on morals, keeping the alphabet community at bay, so to speak. So the floor would be morality. You know what I'm saying? And then there is prosperity. As what I mean by that is, okay, can I afford a house? Can I afford these groceries? Can I afford to build a savings? Is the dollar, gaining some type of value? So and also, like I said before, the opposite of that, which is where we are now with Biden and Kamala being in office, they literally flipped what Trump did. So you can compare the two to see how you had money, well, people that own businesses, I'll say that, got more money in their pocket, and even those that didn't, because if you had kids, you got more money in your pocket based on the credit, the credit. And then, not to mention, he the First Step Act, he also was able to have Democrats and Republicans work together for a commonality that others said that they couldn't do. Barack said that because it was a Republican House and Senate, he couldn't get nothing done. However, though, he passed bills for same-sex marriage. You see what I'm saying? So Trump was able to get people together. And not only that, he stopped wars in other places. So that is the part of, I know I said a lot, but that is kind of the floor of things, where as Mobetta said, if I have more money and I'm safe, then I think I'm pretty solid.
Leifer, anything?
I think if we're talking about people wanting to be people who were voting with their morals, voting for somebody as immoral as Donald Trump, I think we already are working backwards. And as far as him doing what he said he's going to do, he's not doing it for you. He's doing it because he wants the glory and he wants the praise. And for evangelicals to vote for somebody who wants the praise for himself and not give the glory to God, I think that's counterintuitive as well. But evangelicals are very easily tricked all the time. You say a good thing and you say it in a good cadence, and they follow suit like good old sheep. So what I hope is, I hope that he does some of what he said he would do, because all of what he said he's going to do, I don't agree with. So I hope he does some of what he says he's going to do. That'll lead to economic prosperity for all Americans and not just a sector of Americans. And I hope that people will be able to open their eyes to see what's really going on. Because that was one of the things that I liked about him when he first ran, is that I thought he would shine the light on these nefarious political things that people were doing behind the scenes. And I thought he would really be a great candidate who wasn't a politician, but he uses those same political maneuvers, which is worrisome to me, because oftentimes when you try to go against something that you say you don't like, you often become exactly what you say you don't like, trying to take it out. So that's my big worry. But I hope he does do some of the positive things that I think he can do. But I think he's done a lot of damage with some of his rhetoric, and a lot of pulling apart of people. He say you want everybody to be Americans, but then you grab these different groups and you cause this division, and then you have people who live in these rural areas who take everything you say as the gospel and then attack said people. I think that goes toward further division. So that's I hope he does some of the things he said he would do, and some of the things I hope he changes his tune a little bit and speaks to a few more people and understand how damaging some of his words or some of his actions may be. nationwide.
I'm interested in this comment that you're saying, right? What's your definition of an evangelical?
Evangelical to me, evangelical to me is those I'm gonna say Bible thumping, but those who are who identify as some sect of religion, whether that's Baptist, whether it's Catholic, whatever, but a lot of people who have some religious ties, they vote for him, or they vote for people and they say they're voting because they're voting for their morals, or they're voting for their beliefs. And a lot of times what I see is that people know their base and they pander to their base and they say whatever and they don't necessarily mean it. So if I say, oh, if I know they're the evangelical group or against same-sex marriages, I don't care whether or not there's same-sex marriages or not, but I know, this is a good base for me to have, based off of whatever polling I have. So I pander to that group. And I think he does a lot of that. I think he does a lot of flip-flopping. I think he does a lot of, I'm going to say whatever gets me to win today, and I don't know if I believe any of it. I don't think he believes any of it, but he wants to win, and he wants to win at all costs. And some people say, well, that's what winners do. Winners win at all costs. And I said, no, cheaters do. And winners win, like, as you say, morally. But to me, he's morally defunct. So I don't necessarily know.
Okay, you said, okay, my question was, what's an evangelical, right? So
yes. And I thought I answered that. Did I answer that? And then I went further. So go ahead.
You got kind of vague. But if you go with your definition of evangelicals, that would mean that Black people are not, based on how Black people voted, correct? So Black people can't be evangelicals? I can't hear you.
Mute.
My bad. I muted myself while you were speaking.
Yeah, no worries.
Black people can be.
Okay. So Black people can be. However, 92% of Black women, and we know most Black women identify religiously.
Understood.
Right? But they didn't vote for him.
They don't account for all evangelicals.
That's why I was asking your definition of an evangelical, right?
Okay.
Because
you have a point?
Yeah.
Do you have a point?
Because you said evangelicals seem to go with whatever he says. And I'm saying that that wouldn't necessarily be the case if you look at the data. Have you looked at the data?
I have. And I wasn't speaking
in the data.
And so in
the data, it's kind of, you say you wouldn't speak, even in generalities though. Like it's split if you look at the data as it relates to what you're communicating, right? And so with Black people didn't move as it relates to his talking point up on a religious tone. And Black people are more known to be religious than any other ethnic group, right? So that's why I would disagree with that particular statement. And then the second point is that I would say that if you could show me where you've seen him, I guess, do something different than other than what he said, because the people that have been around him since he was in the 80s, I have not heard anybody that knows him say anything about what you're saying. Right? That's from the famous. That's from who is it? That's from Mike Tyson. That's from Dr. Phil when he met him. That's from Joe Rogan when Joe Rogan switched. That's from Elon Musk. That's from Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, you can name a whole slew of people that, based on what you're saying, they did not see what you're saying. So, and they was with him or met him. So, where are you getting your premise from to not think that he would do what he said he would do?
Well, what I'm getting my premise from is based on the fact that it's been documented, it's been known that there's been lawsuits put against him for his practices in his buildings and who he would rent to and who he wouldn't rent to. And then not only that, but then you go through his political campaign. The first time he went, when he was making fun of the I don't want to say the wrong word. It's not PC, but he's making fun of I guess mentally challenged people. You know, then um, he was making fun of the he was making fun of Latin people, and he was making fun of, this is the first time, not this time around, because I believe this time around there was somebody who made a joke, but he was making fun of these different groups. He says stuff, he says stuff and then goes back around. He says stuff on camera and then goes back around and says he didn't say it. So to me, if you could tell me, if I see you do something and then you turn around and say you didn't do it, and then you say, hey, I could kill somebody in broad daylight and get away with it. That's not a person that I think is going to follow through with anything that has to do with anything that I need. That's somebody who I think is self-serving and who wants to succeed the way he wants to succeed. Now, if you benefit somehow from his success, then that's great. But I don't think that he's going out leading, thinking, you know what, I want to do this for Americans. I want to do this because I care so much about people. I just don't think that. There's nothing that I've ever gotten from anything that this guy ever said, that said that he was about people.
The First Step Act?
He was about the people.
The First Step Act?
What does that mean?
Do you know what it is?
What I'm saying is that it doesn't mean that he's about people. Now,
I'm asking you, do you know what it is, though?
Just like he said, Lyndon Johnson did that.
No, it's not the same, bro. Giving government assistance is not the same as freeing people from prison. It literally put people in prison, civil rights movement, right? So my question is, are you familiar with the First Step Act?
I am familiar with the
First Step Act. What is it?
It was about prison reform, or reform for federal prisons.
And who did that help the most?
Sentencing laws.
Who did that help the most?
Do we have numbers on?
Yeah, it was nonviolent. It was nonviolent black offenders. That's who it was. So I'm very well versed in it. And the one thing I will say is, like, I don't necessarily have a dog in the fight at all, right? Like, I'm rooting for America. Like, I want the country that we live in to win. Right. So I'm not really for or against anyone. The fact that he's the president-elect now, so I'm like, okay, well, let's handle the business of this corporation called America. And I understand that no candidate's perfect, right? And in a way, and not that the leader of the free world needs to be morally perfect, because and the reason I say that is because HD, I see what you're saying, like how all these people that have interacted with him at some point say, he's kind of a stand-up guy. I have some kind of anecdotal experience to where I have a family member that worked with him for 30 years, and they think he's a scumbag. But I'm like, you still cashed the check, didn't you? So one hand washes the other. So, it's selective outrage, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, you think he's such a bad person, but you still live off the money of this, let you call it blood money. So I'm like, so let's handle the business while business is being handled. And as far as things that he hasn't done, because like, it's not like he went undefeated, unscored upon in his first term, because he didn't build the wall. He didn't necessarily make it to the point to where we don't have any issues with people crossing over the border. So that's it. And that's in my mind, that's what he ran on the first time. But regardless, hopefully he does it better this time. But the biggest thing that I think that what I would like to have happen is that we just actually, okay, we lost, or I won't say the Democrats lost. Like, let's actually see what he does before we're already ready to condemn him. Because there's some things, especially some of the appointees that he made, I'm on board with it, because I'm a big believer that government's way too big. One of the things that I think about though, and it's kind of scary to me. A lot of the people that you're appointing, and I won't say a lot of them, but some of the people that you're appointing, specifically like the money stuff, the Elon Musk of the world, the Viveks of the world, I was like, these aren't even really Americans. And I'm like, do they really have America's best interests at heart? That's the part that scares me. I'm worried about that.
To add to that, right? The next question is, what's the worst that could happen within the next 4?
The country can be bankrupt financially and morally. That's my fear.
We already bankrupt.
We're getting close. We're NSF.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we're getting close. I agree.
$36 trillion in debt.
I agree. But I mean, like we haven't filed for bankruptcy yet, is my point though. Like, because I think so for example, some of the stuff, like I remember actually, so this came into play the first time he was coming into office. I actually had some very close interactions with this because I knew some people that actually work for the government. And when they first came in, they had the hiring freeze, and they were like, and people always try, and I always say that everything isn't racial. So people up in DC were like, oh, see, he just know black people getting too much money. I'm like, no, it's because literally you are making too much money for what you do. I was like, if you were to come into the private sector, like that's because you have 8 doctorates, but you don't necessarily move the bottom line. That's not worth $200,000 a year. So like, there's just a productivity, there's a cost benefit analysis that has to happen. That doesn't happen in our government right now. So I think to be able to reel that back a little bit and to be able to kind of do some stuff that just common sense leadership, and the fact that he's not a politician and he's a businessman, I think he's going to come in and do some of the stuff that needs to be done. And then some of our trade is very important. I'm very much on board with a lot of the trade policies that he plans to implement. Like people talking about tariffs and like
the
tariffs
one he did before though. He did a great job with China, and then Biden changed it.
So but Biden left some of them in place too. So I mean, I just think there's a lot of selective outrage when it comes to, like, for whatever reason, politics has become too much gamified. The gamification of politics has got way out of hand. Like, it's like we're rooting for our team, and if my team doesn't win, I'm gonna take my ball and go home. But the only person you're hurting is your future lineage, because they're the ones that are gonna have to live in this. Like, so if you totally check out of the process, good luck for your kids, because your whole vote is your representation. So if you don't vote, you don't have any representation. And if you don't be engaged in the process, good luck when you go unheard.
Luther, what's the worst that can happen?
Man, the worst that can happen is for, through all the changes, for the richest people in the world to continue getting richer and the middle class to continue to disintegrate, and things continue to get bleaker and worse, and the cost of goods continue to go up, and as those billionaires and their companies and corporations continue to get tax breaks, they use those tax breaks to automate and then fire more employees, lay employees off, and automate processes. Like I saw that when the auto industry, had to get bailed out. The auto industry had to get bailed out. They gave them all this money. I'm thinking they're going to start, rehiring all of these employees. And instead of rehiring employees, what they did was they automated more systems and laid off more employees. So they took that money to invest in R&D, and then they automated a lot of processes at a lot of the major automakers, and a lot of people lost their jobs. So that's I think that's a big worry of mine, is that a lot of these companies, they get their tax breaks and everything, and they use that money for R&D instead of hiring more employees, and they figure out ways to automate systems and to take money out of American people pockets and put it back into theirs. So I think that's probably the worst that can happen in my estimation, is that a lot of the bigger, wealthier people get wealthier, and it completely disintegrates the middle class.
So Vic, before you move on, I definitely want to touch on this. So, because business is definitely the stuff that kind of excites me, and the money of the world. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the rich getting richer, right? I do hate the fact that potentially the middle class could evaporate, because that's what it makes America great, to be truthful. Like everywhere I've been in the world, they know that's the difference. Like literally, like they could be like, man, it's going to take my children's children before we become middle class in other parts of the world. Whereas in one generation, you could actually be upwardly mobile and change your last name to actually mean something in this country. So that's the greatness. That's the promise that America is. That's why people are swimming on popsicle sticks to get over here. So I get it. But when it comes to the automation and stuff like that, like I totally understand business, and a lot of what happens is because they're doing some of the same stuff when it comes to unions, and like they're having these businesses and these companies in a chokehold. And generally, like, your largest expense is your labor. And when you have this entitlement that, and not that I'm against unions because they do a lot of good, but sometimes when they get greedy, it gets very, very bad for a company. Short story, I was actually part of a previous company, and literally, like, I'm in these meetings with these executives, and they're like, oh, we got to have this negotiation with this union. And I was like, yeah, but we shouldn't really give them the house. We should tell them, like, if we go and try to give them all gold doorknobs, you do realize that the frame's going to fall apart. Like, we're not going to have a company anymore if we give them all the proceeds. Oh, well, we got to, because they're going to go on strike, et cetera, et cetera. So I saw the writing on the wall. I moved on. Literally less than a year. It was like 6 months later after they gave them that check, the union members that check. And people were, you saw people all over the internet talking about it. Oh, we won. There we go. That's how we do it. Literally, there were 12,000 people who weren't part of the union got let go. That can't be good for America. So there needs to be a certain level of logic and a certain level of investment in the company, because the same thing is, and it's the same thing that's going to happen at the dock with the dock workers. Exact same thing is going to happen. So they had them by the short and curlies and was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get this money. We're going to make, I think it was like $60, $70 an hour or whatever, right? Now, what they do is dangerous, but a lot of jobs are dangerous. Just because you have the leverage doesn't mean you should get the total, I guess, the maximum, because what you're going to do is you're going to cannibalize the company from the inside out. And I've seen this happen before. So back when I was in supply chain logistics, the same thing happened. And on the West Coast, they was like, I got something for you. And they automated. You might have got, like, you may have, I don't know, like 12 longshoremen where it might have been 100 on a shift previously. Whereas they're just overseeing the machines and making sure things are running as normal. So you have to be kind of long-sighted. You have to be there for the long haul instead of just trying to have a money grab, because that short money, it won't last.
What you got, HD?
Y'all some very intelligent individuals. I like these conversations. The worst that could happen, I agree with Leifer, is for the middle class to not be productive, as well as small businesses not to be productive, because small businesses, carry 80% of America, if I'm not mistaken. My numbers could be off somewhere. And so what that would do would disintegrate wealth that people are trying to build. So that's the worst that could happen. And also morality could get worse. It could be to the point of where he lied and said, you know what, I'm going to make sure that, boys can be in girls' bathrooms, or we're going to be okay with these gender changes. And basically, I would say the worst that could happen, no tongue in cheek, but if he was to do what Kamala wanted to do, I think that would be the worst that could happen.
What is that?
What Kamala wanted to do was to make it a socialist country. She wants people to rely on the government for all assistant purposes. I mean, you look at when she wanted to give everybody, well, not everybody, but the first time home buyers $25,000 for first time home buyer. Like that would destroy the real estate industry. And I'm in real estate, so I understand that. And then not only that, she wants to what was it? She wanted to tax unrealized gains.
That
right?
Yeah, I did hear about that. Like that would be bad.
That's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Would be bad.
And then she was not talking about reducing taxes. right? She was just talking about taxing the rich people more. Anybody that make over $400,000 a year or more. Do y'all know what that percentage is? Of how many people make $400,000 or more?
I would imagine less than 5%.
I
Yes,
would say 0.01 or something like that.
it's about
400.
it's about
Yeah, it's
5%,
about 5.
right? And I asked my students that, I said, how effective would that, what would that do for anything if you tax them more? And not only that, she wanted it to be like 60 to 70% of their money, right? So that I would say would be the worst that it could happen. If he was to take on what Kamala was trying to do, which was to make us a socialist country.
Well, we're not
So
talking about if he would do it Kamala. I mean, 'cause
What?
what would he do under him? Because that's not a part of his structure. It's not a part of what he had going on. You know, so to say, oh, if he was Kamala, that's the worst. That sounds like a
I'm
cop-out.
saying that would be him lying, though, right? Because the things that he's talking about doing are to, like, for example, he's trying to figure out a way to get rid of taxes by creating tariffs to where the other countries would be paying us to have to come into our country with different items that they have. Like that would increase our spending here. Okay, that will increase us being able to build wealth. That would definitely close the wealth gap as it relates to the middle class, right? If we didn't have to pay taxes, we literally have to pay about 60% of our money, I think, is spent on taxes, right? So if you're a W-2 worker, so if you're a W-2 worker, they tax you as soon as you get your check, and then wherever you go to buy something, you're getting taxed again, right? He's talking about trying to figure out how to get that out the way. Secondly, he also said that he was going to not put taxes on if you're a healthcare, if you're, at healthcare at home, like you're taking care of somebody. So that's not something that she was even talking about doing. Everything that she talked about doing was going to increase inflation.
Right. So I'm just saying, speak on his lack and not, oh, if he's Kamala. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Yeah,
like,
and
yeah,
I'm with you,
that's what I'm saying.
but I'm with you. I'm saying that if he lied and said that he's not going to change economically and he's going to keep some of the same things that are currently here, that's the worst that could happen. Because currently what he's trying to do is flip morality. He's trying that's a good thing for us in America, is to pretty much honor the Constitution. Because if you read it, it's a pretty good document for the most part, right? Okay. So that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to stay in line. Now, if he gets off of that and tries to change that, which is that's why it was you're saying don't talk about Kamala, but that's the whole reason of why we're here and why the country is divided, is because she was on one spectrum and he's on the other. That's what's going on. And so I'm saying if he lied about what he said he was going to do, then that's the worst that can happen. Because if we continue to do what we're doing now, we're going to be in a deeper hole.
I would say the worst that could happen is civil war.
And that's where we were headed to.
No, I mean, it's not civil war based on, I guess if the Trump supporters are the ones raging civil war, but I think civil war is something that's possible under Trump's reign. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so sad, the opposite would be the goal would be to unite the country. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, we got to have a common enemy to unite. But at the same time, if we're not united, right, and because we're not, right, like you see, like one whole sector of the country in a particular race voted for Kamala. 92% of Black women voted for Kamala. You think Black men are going to really late? They're like, well, 72% or 78% of Black men voted for Kamala. So it's still Black versus everybody. You understand what I'm saying? So that could be a clear line in the sand. We have to, we're not being treated fairly, and other people, especially like people we might think are friends, but that are, tethers, as some might say. It could be an all-out civil war. You know what I'm saying? In my head, that's the worst that can happen.
Okay. May I ask the question of do you think that Black people that voted because they felt like they was not going to have they was losing something with him?
Black people voted for black people. The black people that voted that didn't vote for Trump, which were most of them. I know it's hard to hear me, but it's based off racism. A lot of people that voted for him, voted for Kamala, is based off of racism.
That's what
So
I'm
I
asking.
think that's
What, was they
yeah.
gonna- what were they voting to that they were going to lose though? You said they was voting that they were going to lose something. Like what did black people think they were going to lose?
Some thought they were going to lose a free ride. Some of them.
Oh, that part. Okay.
Some of them, and they are.
That's a very small sum. I mean, I don't know how many people you talked to, but the people I spoke to, it was based, especially the men that were voting that way. It was all really based off of empowering racist people to, like, he empowers racist people to be more aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So, and all that will be backs against the wall, more inclined to protect ourselves violently. He enrages violence. That's why we have a ride on, in DC, I mean, on the Capitol and stuff. He enrages violence in people. So his face is a heroic flag. We're in the South. Some of us are, but for people to still live in that old school Southern, anti-racist KKK, like that's. I mean, we're in a
You
different.
realize that the KKK is democratic, bro.
Nah, bro, we're not talking. We're talking about for what we really know it as, not politically, because we don't see Democrat any of that. We see burn crosses on my front lawn. That's what we see. We're not. It's not a political thing with the KKK. It's black people see. I mean, you can be blind to it if you want to, but
explain to me what do you?
We see, bro. We see Malcolm X. We see Rosewood. That's what we see when we think of KKK. We're not thinking, oh, these are the Democrats coming to burn our lawns or that.
Well, that would be ignorance. Yeah, that would be ignorance.
I mean, maybe it's a miseducation, but that's beside the point.
No, but that's the point. I think we've been fed. And I won't say we, but because I know better. But I think a lot of people have been fed misinformation. I don't honestly believe that Trump is racist. What I do believe is that people are listening for dog whistles that aren't there. And they're like, see, like literally, I saw people saying, oh, we're gonna be back in slavery. Like, no, we ain't. Like, but here's the thing. The thing that I'm actually anticipating happening is I'm hopeful that 80% of black men and that however many, basically all the 91% of black women, that makes us unified, because I think there was a gender divide, at least in our minds. But from the actual statistics and the data, that shows that at least from our politics, we actually have more in common than we think. So I would like for us to actually unify, and hopefully what would happen is if there's that much fear, if that would activate our warrior class to be like, okay, we ain't going for that. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. What I do think is going to happen is the free rad's going to be over. Like, it's the same way when I said when Obama got it, I was like, that's going to remove all excuses. Get your stuff together. The free rad's going to be over. They're going to be like, you got a black president.
What's the warrior class? What's the warrior class do? I mean,
so
what you think that warrior class is going to do, knowing who we are?
I'm talking about us, our warrior class. I'm hopeful that activates us, right? So I think there's
in the way you might think it will activate.
You never know, because I think we're a very resilient people. And if there is a fear that, because I don't think like they're going to come in our homes and this ain't going to be Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I don't see that happening. But if there's the fear of that, that should galvanize us enough to have a common enemy, being white supremacy, to be able to say, okay, we need to get our stuff together. We need to do some powernomics and get to a place to where we can insulate ourselves from the infidels coming in here and taking what little bit we do have. That's my hope. But like, I mean, I think that, it's a lot of fear mongering that went on both sides.
I don't necessarily know. I mean, there's fear mongering in politics, period. That's just how it works. They feed off the fears of people who are less informed, and they get you with sound bites and little clips of things to get you to, think this encompasses everything. You take things out of context. But when I look at, the counties and the people who are supporting them, like even if we just say here in Pennsylvania, and we're looking out in Butler County and in some of these counties where, or some of these locations where if you drive through at different times throughout the night, you might get harassed by
Uniontown,
police.
PA.
You
Uniontown,
might
PA.
get you might get harassed by some police. So what I'm saying, so when I say when I speak about it is, I worry about the people that it galvanizes for what reasons, because those people in turn, they take, like I said, some of them take what he says literally and they act on it, and there is like real consequences that happen as a result of some of this stuff. Now it's not just him, it's politics in general. People go out there, they say stuff and they think there's no consequences, but there's consequences on the ground. So that's what I worry about when we think about some of these things. It's like some of the people who are voting for him. And then as far as the KKK and the talk of the Lincoln Republican Party and all of this stuff, man, like it's not the same. Like it's not the same. The Republican Party, when Lincoln was in office, is not the same as the Republican Party now. And the Democratic Party that was back then is not the same as it is now. A lot of things changed a lot. Hey, we could go throughout history and we could see a lot of the ideology shift from those parties from back then. Because even when
Please
Lincoln,
prove that point.
even when Lincoln signed to do whatever he was doing, the Emancipation Proclamation, he didn't do it for the slaves. He did it
was
for the
leverage,
union.
and it was the business.
He did it for the union. He didn't care. Yeah. He didn't care. So it wasn't like we're looking at it as like he was the savior.
How is that different? But I will go and agree with that point. But I'm asking you, what was the flip in what you're saying? You're saying that Republicans of before are different than now. I would totally disagree with that statement, because it sounds like, and I could be wrong, that the information that you're alleging is not from actual history information. Because if you go and literally look at it, Democrats were here first. There was only one party, right? Okay. So then the Republicans became a party because they did not like how things were going, and part of that was they did not like that how slavery was taking place, right? Then if we go even further, why would Thurgood Marshall be a Republican and then try to help Black people from that position? Why was Martin Luther King a Republican? They was all trying to do the same thing ever since Republicans have been in office. Jim Crow happened because of Democrats.
Right. And HD's correct. And that's what I was going to say. I think we changed. Because they were very conservative and they were about the type of stuff that they're still speaking out. Obviously, there's radicals in every side. I get that. Yeah. And one of the things that I was researching recently, because sometimes I feel I have a little feminist in my house, so I have to rebut her sometimes. So literally, I was doing some research, and they were talking about the child deletions, and because that was the biggest thing. While that 91% were like, oh, you're taking away my autonomy of my body, right? And I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but it makes sense, because on those extreme circumstances, whereas the life of the mother potentially is at stake, and then also when there's some intra-family type stuff or some
foul play.
Yes, let's call it that. That's like less than 3%. So you just want to do what you want to do and have that as a fail-safe. So you know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, wait, we're literally saying that's what we're voting for. And that's I think a lot of times, like, they're not saying the good part out loud. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh well, it's because she went to HBCU, or it's because she's a Divine Nine, or because she's about women. But if anything, like we're voting here, but behind our backs, we kind of got what we really want. It's an ulterior motive. And like I said, and even to this day, with Trump coming in, he's even saying, like, he's not necessarily taking a hard stance. He's just saying, I'm pushing it to the state level. I'm gonna let your state folks deal with it.
And to add to that, because I was on the and I said this on my show, I was on the women's clinic board in Dallas, and it's called Mid Cities Women's Clinic. And what our design was to, treat women, but also get them to not want to delete their baby. Okay. And the people would come in and explain to us, the nurses and the doctors would explain to us some of the statistics that they had. And one of the statistics was 50% of the women that come, it's their that they get a deletion, we'll say 50% of them, it's their second time. Their second time, right? The other part about it is, as well as that, if the father is available and says that he will be there, 80% of those women keep their baby. Okay, so that shows you that there is one, maybe a fear of that they're going to have to do it by themselves, and it's their only way. Understood. Okay. However, that is what they ran on. And I'm with you, Mo Better, because I went to go look to find if it was something else, right? And that was the number one thing, was women's reproductive rights. And if you talk to a Black woman, they would say the same thing. And then it's like, are you saying that you don't have the freedom to reproduce? Like that, you have the freedom to. That's what reproductive rights means, that you're reproducing. When you delete something, that means you're not reproducing it. You know what I'm saying? That's what that is. And so it's interesting that it's the 78% and the 92% are so aligned on that as a formality, or that because she identified physically with them. That's even crazy. That's just as crazy. You're telling me that you like her now, but you didn't like her in 2020.
So one of the things that I was gonna say was that, and that's what to me that was so heartbreaking as I watched this. I don't necessarily participate in identity politics, however, but as people were like, oh, we have to vote for her. How could you not vote for her? And I was like, there's nothing about her that aligns with me. I was like, she's literally a Indian Jamaican woman. I was like, what? I was like, what else you got? You know what I mean? Like, I was okay, we didn't pass that test. So, okay, what else do you have for me in a tangible way? And I remember when she did a town hall with Charlemagne, and somebody literally asked her, hey, what is your stance on reparations for FBA? And she said, we would have to study it. And then before that, she said, I'm not going to do anything just for Black people. And I was like, but that's the part that is really frustrating. Is I would like for us to unify and at least have an agenda, because we've talked about this for years, as long as we've had this show, is we need to get something tangible. And that's only way we're going to get out of this so-called plight that we're in, and to be able to be upwardly mobile group collectively. And to be honest, I don't think that was going to happen if she got in office, just to be fair.
And I don't think it was really about the gender or the reproduction rights. Like I said, most Black men
for who? Oh, for Black men? I'll say, okay.
For Black men, it was more about.
I think we were going along to get along. To be honest,
no, it was about the racism, bro.
But how can they identify? You saying this is people you talk to? How though? That's what I don't understand. Like, where was they seeing that Trump was racist? Like,
that's the rhetoric. That's the rhetoric we have.
It doesn't have to be Trump being racist. It has to be with his base being racist. A lot of his base being racist.
Okay.
Thinking
what's
they're
crazy?
acting on his behalf.
And what's crazy is, you're telling me that Black people are basically not intelligent. That's what y'all saying.
No, man. We just saying we're fed. We're fed with.
No.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
Like
It's
for
a
example, I'm fed the
exposure.
exact same thing, right? But I'm able to go and look and see if things are accurate.
Exposure.
For example, the whole, when they had the Charleston, I think that Charlottesville whole scenario where he was talking about.
Charlottesville. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much. All right, so they were
Charlottesville,
saying
Virginia.
they kept bringing that up even now even in the debate. Even Kamala said it, and as well as Barack said, he was saying people are good on both sides.
They're verified people. You watch the whole clip.
You watch the whole clip. He literally, like, all you got to do is watch the whole clip, and it's only 7 minutes long. And you're telling me that that Black people cannot register in their mind to go see if this is the totality of something. However, they will want us to go do more research on Kamala, right? So
There's no research on Kamala. There's no research. That's why people think she's Black. There's no research on Kamala that Black people are doing.
that's what I'm saying. So you're saying that Black people are not intelligent.
That don't mean you're not intelligent, bro. That just means
that means you're lazy. That means you're intellectually lazy. That doesn't mean you're not intelligent. Because look, I'm the first one to put my hand up because I always just took it as in Charlottesville that he literally, that was his quote, that there's good people on both sides. And as all this, like, I got so tired of seeing all the rhetoric and all the misinformation, I happened to go and look and see the quote or the clip in its entirety. And I felt so duped when I saw it. And I was like, they got me again.
Or how about him, the Central Park 5? Did anybody go read the actual newspaper clipping that he put in? It had my wife went to go read it, and she was like, "There's no racial undertone." And my wife did not like Trump; she still don't like him, right? However, as it relates to the things that he proclaims he's going to do, she liked those more. So I'm speaking from that position. She went to go read it, and there's nothing racial about it, but they made it be that he's racist. There is nobody around him. Oprah that never said he was racist. It was nothing but media that has said that.
Yeah, but he's not refuting whatever the.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. That you showing
I
your
don't even addressing it. I don't think
literally they asked him, "Are you a racist?" And he said out of his mouth, "I don't have a racist bone in my body." That is verbatim. That's the ignorance that's going on. You see,
and our algorithms are different. That might be the algorithm you might get.
And I think that's the point, though. They're only showing us the stuff that they want us to see. Because, so if you think about it, like growing up in the 90s, how many times have you heard Trump being mentioned in a rap song or him being with Black celebrities and stuff like that? And at some point, didn't you I live by a quote, this: I never let my emotions supersede my intelligence. And the biggest thing that I realized was like, so you're telling me all this time it'd be the whitest of the white rooms, and he would gravitate towards the brothers and maybe the sisters or whatever. Now all of a sudden he can't stand Black folks, and that's when I start digging in a little bit deeper. So I don't think that he's racist.
Like,
say that again.
Most people are sheep. You know what I'm saying? So put in your shepherd mind, which all of us four here shepherds, right? So making your sheep had that accountability. It's just not capable. They're not capable of thinking that way. You know what I'm saying? So we can't condemn them for it. They're fed what they're fed. Yes, we're intelligent enough to go and do the research and look at this and not let our emotions control. But that is a very small sector of people. You know what I'm saying? And none of us are sheep. Some of us are, right? Because some of us got. I didn't want to go down that road.
But you know, there was a shift though. Like, I mean, it was. I think it was. This is the most Black people or men that have voted for a Republican since Reagan.
Yeah,
and he did better than Reagan, if I'm not mistaken.
So let me play devil's advocate. So we were scared. We felt we had to vote for Kamala because Trump was racist. Name me one president that wasn't racist, with the exception of maybe Barack Obama.
I don't know what I don't. Me personally, what I'll say, I won't speak for anybody else. It was never about him being racist, because I think the only thing he cares about is money. He don't care about nobody. You could be purple, purple man, green man, yellow man. It don't matter. I think he cares about money. It was never about him to me. It was about the people that he incite. Now, the people and the crowds that he incite, I believe a lot of those crowds are racist. I believe a lot of those crowds,
and they're nobodies though. They're not pushing policy.
That it don't matter if they're pushing policy if your grandparents live in the same neighborhood as them and they come and burn their house up.
You know that somebody's racist. That's what we're saying.
Already in them. It was already in them.
Understood. It was already. So what I'm saying is there was a shift that we saw, and maybe you didn't see it, but when he got in office, there was a shift from there was this passive racism that was happening, for years and years and years. And then the moment he became elected, that passivity became extremely aggressive on a lot of fronts.
Please explain.
In a lot of spaces.
This is what I don't like when people communicate. Like you got to give me some detail, like a specific situation that you're referring to, because most of the things that you're saying are very generalized. And this is exactly how liberals talk. Like they speak in a general statement, but give me a situation like Charlottesville. I gave you a scenario of Charlottesville. Okay. I gave you another scenario of Central Park 5. So I want you to give me a situation where a racist person has affected the outcome of Black people.
I'm not. The one thing I can give you one, and I'm actually on your side, HD. But on the one thing that I saw that was tangible was them Asians going against affirmative action. That was the one thing, and I was like, "You're literally a minority, and you're in the numbers beard it out. They actually are getting into the Ivies less at this point. So they chop their nose off to spite their face. So that's the one thing that I saw that was tangible, that emboldened people to say the quiet part out loud, but it ended up not going in their favor. But in my real life, like since Trump got in office, I ain't seen some racists come to my face and say something wild to me. Yeah, there might be some keyboard warriors that are willing to say some troll stuff online, but I haven't heard or seen much in a tangible way to where it's affecting Black folks' lives and they're actually moving the needle and they're oppressing us more than they ever were. That's the one thing that I think we're being sold a boogeyman.
Well, I never said that they were oppressing us more. I'm saying the quiet part was being said out loud. I'm saying the passive part was happening a little more aggressively. Now that these are a lot more, and well, let me speak. Well, you know what I mean? I can see you, you're muted, but I can hear you loud. Mike, they're anecdotal stories, but they're stories that I heard from my friends in different parts in the South. You know what I mean? That in areas where they knew where it could be troublesome, but they never had any real problems. Then Donald Trump was elected, and then there was some more issues. People were a little more abrasive. People were a little more aggressive. And like I said, it's anecdotal, but it's a show. It's a small piece of data that shows that there was some kind of shift, and people were becoming a little more emboldened because they felt like there was somebody in power who aligned with their views. And I don't necessarily believe that he aligned with their views. I just feel like he appealed to certain people in order to get a vote.
And you're right. Because
what you're saying. I think I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is that Black people identify with people that supported Trump as racist or being affiliated.
Yep, guilty by association. Yep.
Is that right? Is that what you're saying, Leifer? Would that be fair to say?
Loosely, but what I'm saying is that there were, people, like I said, they were in these people's faces all the time, and like I said, things were very passive. I would say that
that's always been Black and white people.
Yeah, but I'm saying it was a little more. Like I said, when he went in office, it got a little more aggressive. Is what they
like. For example, what's an aggressive tone? Like, are you saying that the white person came and said, "Listen, boy, you better sit down"? Like,
there was some more N-word type stuff. You know what I mean?
There
was more N-word, and it was a little more confrontational than it was in the past. In the past, it might have just been they might have just ignored them or wouldn't have said nothing to them, and then they started speaking, and they were a little more abrasive, a little more aggressive, a little more negative. I'm a
Okay.
racist.
And that black people was like, okay, because you are a racist and you're in my face, the dude that you support, I can't support him because of that. Is that what you're kind of saying?
I'm saying for a lot of people, yes, because
Okay.
people say, "Oh, I can." Like there was one case where somebody said specifically, a dude did something crazy to me and said, "I could do what I want. I voted for Donald Trump," and I'm like, Donald
Okay.
Trump about to get your butt whooped today. Like, he ain't gonna protect you down here. Like, but
So
that was like
they voted for Kamala just to vote against Trump. Is that what it sounds like you're saying?
yes.
Okay. So then that
Some
comes
people,
back.
some
Then
people.
that okay, that's fair. And then that comes back to once again like what we said. That's very lazy, right? Because the person that's in your face cannot affect that. And for somebody to blame Trump for the reason why they did what they did, that's lame too. Yeah, like now one of y'all can make me do something. Like even though I may disagree with you, or we get into a heated battle of a conversation, I'm going to be the one that's responsible for my actions. Like y'all can't, you know what I'm saying? When somebody comes off kilter, like if you go read what Trump said, because most people didn't. If you go read what he didn't incite anything. Okay. If you go read the actual thing that he said, right? And secondly, he asked Nancy Pelosi to get the National Guard there, and she said no. So we talking about the whole January 6th thing, right? So what I'm saying is it's unfortunate that most black people identify with something that they didn't even go pay attention to. All they did was, even in the algorithm, right? Even in the algorithm, she literally said that she was for deleting kids. She said that.
It ain't
And
about the kids.
I'm with you, but I'm saying that, but nevertheless, you have to still be like, you know what? This is what she's saying. He's a racist. I had asked this question before. Would you want to undercover racist, or would you want an overt racist? Which one would you?
I wanted to be out loud. I wanted to be blatant.
Right.
And I've always said that. Like I had that culture shock when I moved from the north to the south. Like I always knew that there were, shadows behind the scenes and hands that were, maneuvering things up north. When I moved out, I knew who didn't rock with me, and I was like, okay, I can move accordingly, right? It's the enemy that I can see that I'd rather deal with, right? But one of the things that you guys were talking, it spurred a thought, and if nothing else, I've been a part of teams my entire life, so I can kind of step back and see kind of what's going on. So based on what Leifer was saying was how they became emboldened to say things. I wonder if it was the exact opposite when Barack Obama went in and we became more bold and we were able to say the quiet part out loud. And then that's when it was like, oh, now it ain't, look, it's good when they do it, you know what I mean? But when we do it, that's when it's a problem. So that's the part that I understand, like it goes both ways. But the fact that they probably felt that we got a little too brazen and too bold when he got in office. And he didn't even do anything for us, for the record. Like, because they literally was, accusing him of giving us stuff behind, under the table. Like black folks got nothing, to be honest, nothing specific for us. But that's the thing is everybody is they're taking the implied instead of what actually happens. The tangible stuff, like I didn't see him put any policies. Trump didn't put any policies in place in 4 years that was going to put us in slavery or going to oppress us or something like that. So why all of a sudden now, if he gets back in, that we going to be back picking cotton? Like, I just don't think it makes sense.
I don't think they're necessarily, and this is what I think that y'all are missing the point of what I'm saying. They don't have to deal with the politicians. They have to deal with the people that live next to them. So if he is inciting some way inadvertently, no matter how they chop or screw it, the people who live next to them, then they have to deal with the people. Y'all are dealing with economics. Y'all dealing with politics. They're dealing with everyday people.
Dealing with everyday
And that's
people.
what they're saying.
That's why, I don't know why you're shaking your head. Like,
And that's what they're saying. They got to deal with the people. They're dealing with the aftermath of the people.
Because when the question was asked, what did they vote on? Okay,
they're voting on.
Voted on. Did y'all read any of this information?
It don't matter if we read it or not.
Why
It's our
does it not
experience of
matter?
the people. It's our experience of the neighbors.
That
Like, you know
don't
what I'm
matter.
saying? Like, it
Listen,
does
listen,
matter. That's what matters. That's
listen,
what we're voting on.
listen.
So you
That
can not
ain't
understand if you want
okay.
to.
Well,
That's
that's
what we're voting
very
on.
ignorant of anybody to be like, okay, well, this burger joint wasn't good, so that means that all these burger joints are not good. That's crazy. Okay, so when I was talking to people, and I'm a teacher, I'm an educator. Okay, so I talk to a group of teachers. I have a big family. I talk to my family of people. I have church members. I've talked to them. So I've talked to people on panels, right? The consent, and then watch people interview people about why were they voting for Kamala. Women were saying they are voting for her because she's black or she's a woman. That is what they were saying.
Women are voting for her because they
There
disagree.
were only 22% of men that vote, right? Okay, but the 78% that voted were voting. Part of them were doing the exact same thing because it doesn't make listen for a dude to be like, I'm scared of the dude that's next to me that is racist.
Yes.
I don't nah, you bugging.
No, I'm
Okay.
not, but
That don't make sense. What you're saying.
you're making him sound like a wimp. Oh, because I'm scared. But nobody wants to be confrontational. Like I said, he's dealing with these people every day, day in and day out. Do I really
Who?
want to like get my gun? I know this one. I'm about to say something crazy, but I know he going. I know he go do every fall. He goes and kills deer, skins it, gets the body. I don't hunt. I'm not a gang member. You know, like they say, all black. We're not really practicing killing each other. We're not in gangs. We're not doing that. But I know him on his weekends. He's going to go shoot something, kill something, skin something. Am I really ready to face this guy? No.
So he's automatically a
Yeah,
racist because he did that like that.
But
Like
they are. He
but-
has that ability. So I
right.
mean, you can throw it away if you want to, but I'm telling you, this is what the black men are voting for.
Okay, and I am not disagreeing with that is what they're voting for, right? I'm just alluding to the fact of that you all are saying that our black people are not that bright of individuals is what it boils down to. Because if you're saying that if your premise is anything other than the policy or what a person can do for me as a community member or as a citizen in America, you are voting very horribly. I even said this to people in a church. I said, if you're voting, and we had it on our show, if you're voting out of fear either way, then you are voting from a bad position because you should be voting on the information as it relates to policies either way. Okay. And so for black people to come along and say, I'm voting for her when she literally in any of her track record has had an opportunity to do something for black people at every part of as it relates to her being in any setting of an office. She has never done anything for black people. And as Mo Better alluded to, she literally said it on this campaign that she was doing nothing for black people. And then once she got that smoke, when somebody said something, she writes something for black men that really wasn't for black men.
it was
So
a nothing burger.
right, it was a nothing. It was a nothing burger, and black people still ate it up. So what you're saying is that black people are not intelligent enough to see through.
You calling them not intelligent, like it's really a slap in the face. Like
What would you call it?
it's really not about intelligence. You know what I'm saying?
But you call women, you say women are not intelligent all the time.
I don't say they're not intelligent.
What's the word you say?
I don't know, but I don't say
You
they're
say
not
that they should not be held responsible because they don't know what they're doing.
You don't want to hold them accountable. I know that.
They're
Not capable.
and
It usually starts with not capable.
They're not,
Thank
they're not
you.
capable. That don't mean they're not intelligent. They're just not
What?
capable of being. They're not capable of being accountable. So yeah, I definitely believe that. But I'm not going to dare say they're stupid. Because they're not stupid. They're just something about them being a woman prevents them from making the right decisions in those kind of things and being accountable. Men, but we're not talking about that. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about my day-to-day experience when I'm outside and this Trump supporter is giving me an experience that I'm not enjoying. Well, if a Trump supporter is, for instance, I like the Eagles, but I don't like the Eagles because of the fans. I cannot like the Eagles because the fans are rude. Regardless of the Eagles team itself, I like Jalen Hurts. I like the team. They have Vic. They always got a black QB, Randall Cunningham. You know what I'm saying? But the fans are so rude, it makes you not like the Eagles.
They booed Santa Claus, huh? So you was done with him.
So it's the same thing with Trump. Regardless of what kind of guy he is, if he's nice, if he signed whatever bill, he never said he was racist. I don't think he's racist. But regardless of that, his fans are rude. So I can't like Trump based on his fandom.
So I hear you, but this game's a little too valuable to do it that way. I hear you. This scenario is too valuable for you to gamify it in that way. The results is too dire. Like, so don't, if you actually want to root for that team and you want to vote for them, you better vote for them. Don't be against them because of their rude fans. So that's a big thing.
How you say that about when it's not game of Bible, when that rude fan is actually giving me physical confrontation. That's
Bro, your auto tune is killing me.
I mean, it sucks, but
I got that.
I'm trying to get the point across, though.
You sound like Lil Wayne.
But my day-to-day experience is me dealing with this rude fan. Like, that's my experience. You know what I'm saying? I gotta make it home past this dude.
Well,
But
so
that's not going to stop. But that's
yeah.
so, like, if you're saying that I'm not gonna vote for something that is going to help me and my community because this guy over here is in my face and could be detrimental to, like, you. Which one would you rather lose? Like, you're going to lose more, right? I'll come to you, and I hold it. Let it go here. It's similar to saying, if I could liken it to scripture, right? It's similar to people saying, well, you Christians, really, I don't rock with you Christians because of how y'all live y'all life. However, have you read the book? But what does the book say, though?
It's the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. But you should be connected to the book.
They never read the Bible. It's the same
But
thing.
you should be connected to the book, though, because what did Jesus do? You know what I'm saying? What is the book saying to do? The person is out of line. That's why it's important. That's why the Bible said what Paul said. I know you don't like Paul, but Paul said, he said, follow me as I follow Christ. And if I ain't doing what he doing, don't rock with me.
Did we not have a whole show about why we say we're believers and not just Christians? It's the same thing. Because you gotta separate yourself from the umbrella term of what you might think or what somebody might misinterpret Christianity be about. You know what I'm saying? So now I say I'm a believer instead of saying I'm a Christian, because I don't want you to misconstrue my true belief system, and I don't want you to put me under the box of hypocrite, blah, 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 judgmental, or whatever. I want you to see me like because I'm a servant of Christ, instead of, oh, your experience of what the Christian might, you know what I'm saying? But that's the difference, though. There's still plenty of people who hate Christianity, and it's the same thing. So understand it and stop acting like you don't understand what's going on.
No, what I'm saying, I do understand. What I'm saying is that the people, I'm aware, but for example, I'm saying to you, when you say Trump supporters, you're literally jumbling everybody together that voted for Trump, and when that's what y'all are doing. Am I wrong?
You wrong.
You say, okay, so when you say Trump supporter, that's the terminology you use. You
Right.
say
Okay. Trump supporter will say a Trump supporter is the Christian, and somebody who voted for Trump is a believer. That's the separation, right? But you're not going to call everybody that believes Christians or whatever, hypocrites or whatever. You're not going to say, oh, they're stupid or they're not intelligent. You're not going to call them that.
No, I was asking you all. I said, so y'all. I was
I'm asking you, are you going to call those people who think all Christians are hypocrites and XYZ? Are you going to call anybody that thinks about a Christian that way based off their experience? You're going to call them unintelligent?
I would say they have a lack of intelligence for sure.
You would?
You know what intelligence means, right? It means that you have information and you utilize it, right? And then I can also say they're ignorant, which means that they don't have the information, and so therefore they're ignorant. That's what that means. And so if you are pigeonholing somebody, like if you're pigeonholing Jesus because of how I act, then you're missing Jesus. I'm aware that I'm supposed to be a representation of him, but I am nowhere like Jesus. I am literally a man trying to aspire to be him. So it makes more sense for in this scenario for me to go see what Trump said and what did Trump do and what has been his. And I hate to compare him to Jesus, but I'm just trying to give.
That. I was trying to figure out how we got around the Trump being Jesus. I was like,
No, I
what's
wasn't.
going
I was alluding to is that if that person is saying I'm not going to vote for Trump because I don't like his Trump supporters, when all people don't act like that. All Trump supporters don't act like that, right? Dwayne don't act like that. You know what I'm saying? And I would be. He doesn't. He doesn't go around saying I'm going to do something to you. You know what I'm saying? He is a very humble dude. Like, I mean, dude helped me through when my late wife passed away, and I ain't know this dude. You know what I'm saying? So he helped me out in all that jazz. So I've been able to see him up close in person, and everybody that has seen him know he's a Trump supporter, but he does not operate from the disposition of the stereotype of a Trump supporter. No different than how I am a Christian and I do not align with how some Christians act. And I wouldn't even necessarily call those Christians, because Christians are people that are following Christ and are able to admit when they're wrong and have fallen short of his glory, is what I'm saying. So in this position, Trump, people that are black people, this is what I'm saying. You should not vote for Trump because or vote against Trump because you think he's racist. You should vote for that because you vote for him or vote against him because you are okay with what Kamala policies are. That would be the reason why you should vote for her, is what I'm saying.
So let me ask a question real quick, because I don't know how much more time we going long over there, and I love the conversation, but we're hinging a lot on this presidency where locally we don't realize a lot of this stuff. So, like, where does the your local politicians, your Senate, your House, your state reps, like where do they come in? Because there's only so much the president gonna do. Like, we giving them a lot of power of, oh, well, he said this. He said he can't do half of the shit he said. He can't do half of it. He's got to get support from them. And all this stuff that we're attributing to the presidents, the House and the Senate started these bills. All he did was sign them. You know what I mean? He didn't create it. He didn't write the verbiage. He didn't do any of that. All he did was sign it once they put it across his desk. So in all reality, we should be focusing on the local elections, the House and the Senate, the state, the state house. We should be focusing on a lot of the local stuff, because that's going to have the more immediate. And everybody who knows me knows I hate politics. Like, this conversation itself is going too far for me, but we here now. So, that's where, we should be focusing a lot of our attention at, because that's where the most immediate effect is going to be. And while we're talking about up here, it may or may not touch home. You know what I mean? So where would you tell the listeners to actually focus a lot of their attention to outside of this? Because yes, this is important, right? But we know who chooses the president. It's the electorate, right? And all of that comes from the local stuff. You know what I mean? These other so you know what I mean? The electorate there's senators, there's House of Representative people in it. There's people that you're voting for in the elections outside of the president that are part of this electorate. So
I would say study the Bible. That's what I would say.
So what I would say is you should have a bottom up approach. Because the stuff that's going to be more immediate and more connected in your day to day is going to be kind of the local stuff, and then cascade up into obviously up into the presidency. But I had a funny story. Like, me and my wife went in to vote, and she was like, just because I told her, I was like, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. Like, I didn't. some of it was tongue in cheek, to be honest. But once I got in there, I did what I did. But we had a conversation, post mortem as we're walking out, and all she was worried about was who I voted for the presidency. And I was like, well, what about? Did you see those two addendums at the bottom? One was for an additional tax in our county, then one was for public transportation. And I was like, hey, I actually think, I was telling why I thought it was a bad idea for them to start having bus routes way out into our suburbs and stuff like that for obvious reasons. And she was like, oh, I don't even know if I clicked it. And I was like, that's the point. You were so worried about, reproductive rights. I'm old. I ain't give you no babies anyway. You ain't got no dog in the fight. I was like, we need to be focused on everything. This is that important that we need to actually be talking about all of it. And then one of the things that I'll kind of land my plane on this is when it comes to voting on Democrat, Republican, whatever. One of the things that I told her was, because I believe in getting something tangible for your vote. My wife had hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loans forgiven. I was like, they earned your vote. I was like, I paid mine cold hard cash, but they repaid yours. So I was like, you should probably vote for them. And I was like, and you don't have to get on board with why everybody else is. That's something tangible that affected your life in a real way. So I was like, they earned your vote. Didn't necessarily earn mine. So, and I'll land my plane there, man. I know it's getting late.
HD, you want to close?
Hey, this has been phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy coming on and talking to you guys. It gives me an opportunity to refine myself for sure. And just to kind of speak to the topic, what do you expect? My honest expectation is for Christ to still do what he does. I honestly, when I went back and reflected upon what my 2020 to 2024 was, and even though people had pains and struggled and things like that, economically, that didn't affect me. You know what I'm saying? And that's a result of, in my estimation, my commitment to who he is. And so I'm always rock with Jesus no matter what. I can't say that I'll vote in the next election for the same people, you know what I'm saying? But I know that it's important for you, whatever your decision is, it should be, I know people don't know this, but being a part of a citizen in the United States, one of the main things you're supposed to do is to be an informed voter. It's literally written out that you're supposed to be an informed voter. And so I want people to be informed. And so whatever it is that is you got to do, which is to look at both candidates, go look and see what it is that they rock with, whether it's your federal or your local government. You need to know what it is. And so I appreciate the opportunity, man.
I don't know if it's. I don't want to give too long because I'm on the auto tune, but man, keep working hard. Like, I really wanted to get out how we could either protect or take advantage of what's going to happen in the next 4 years. That was really my goal of this episode, but I think this episode was marvelous. And, we got to join together to figure that out, how to take advantage of whatever's coming, or, protect ourselves of whatever's coming. We can talk about that next week or whatever in 2 weeks. But, man, I appreciate all you guys. Shut up, man.
Janky promoters.
Listen, I'm gonna get a new one, man.
I appreciate all you guys, and that's another prototype dead. We out.
All right, y'all. Good night.
All right.